Hi ladies and gentlemen, Makalesi here. Thanks for coming back to my channel. So today I want to talk about alchemy. So I know that a lot of times when people hear about esoteric stuff or just spirituality, they always hear about alchemy, and it's like they always say that it has to do with turning lead to gold, and lead to gold as like the metal lead to gold. And a lot of people are like, ooh, they're making gold, cool, this is like treasure. Which is, that could probably be the case, but a lot of times in, metaphysics, spirituality, turning lead to gold is really actually turning your shadow into gold. So remember, just like how we are right now, there used to be certain people, there wasn't really a lot of people you couldn't have really as much spiritual freedom. So a lot of times things had to be hidden, or had to be in code, or had to be like esoteric, because there was people or governments or powers that did not want certain truths to be out there. So sometimes they would speak in code, and really even they were talking about turning lead to gold, really what they're talking about is turning your shadow into gold. So it's really doing inner alchemy. So that's what inner alchemy is about. Inner work, doing the inner work of going inwards. And why you need to do the inner work is because you have to realize that a lot of stuff of having spiritual liberation is really fine-tuning your vibration. And your vibration has everything to do with who you are as a person. So who you are and that's why a lot of the spiritual stuff has stuff to do like, do unto others as you want to do unto you, be a good person, things of that nature, because it's really about your vibration. Because the human body is really like a radio signal. So the signals that we put out is based on our, the way that we think, based on our emotions, based on our subconscious, based on the things that we feed our consciousness. So all that we kind of like absorb it, and then we make a unique mixture of energy, and we hold that energy, and that becomes our frequency. So really you will go on different frequencies based on your own body. So for example, here's an example of different frequencies. So you see here, this is level 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can go on different frequencies, but your levels will be based on your inner work. So a lot of times if you want to have like a really nice positive experiences, you want to go to the higher frequencies, because that's when everything is a little bit lighter. There's not a lot of density. But a lot of times if you're going on a lower frequency, because like this is probably someone who thinks probably negative, or has a lot of trauma, or has a lot of personal healing, and probably has a lot of addiction, because their vibration's low, they're going to be having experiences on this level. Your body is like a radio signal. So based on wherever your body is fine into, you will have different experiences. So usually when they talk about heaven, they're talking about the vibrational frequency of your body, and if you can fine tune it, you can go higher and have higher experiences. And that really has to do with your body and like your whole being. It's just not like, oh, I have to think positive or just pray on Sunday. It's like you have to actually exude and be heaven. Like heaven is not only a place, it's a state of being. So when you're in a state of being of heaven, you kind of lock the doors of heaven. So it's kind of like there's a lot of frequencies or doorways or portals or whatever you want to call it. And the way that you're going to go into those portals is based on your frequency. But at the same time, there's powers that be that know that. So once you go into a different level of frequencies, like let's just say they only control level 1, once you go into level 2 or higher, they can't control your frequencies. So there's a lot of powers that be, like let's just say dark government or shadow or master groups, which don't want your frequency to go higher, because if your frequency goes higher, they cannot manipulate you. So that's why they would do a lot of shadow alchemy, where they would just do things that are basically seducing you based on, in Christianity, they would basically say the 7 sins. So what happens is if they can like seduce you by making things, and the shadows, like you do things, but then you suppress it in your background because you feel guilty about it for whatever reason. So if they can continuously having you suppress your shadow, which is your subconscious, they can actually seduce you through your shadow. So that's why it's always important to do shadow work, or just always look within. And at the same, so if you were to able to like fine tune yourself and create that shadow, and let's just say your frequency was to go to the frequency level 2, they can't tap into you anymore. So that's why, as you could tell, like right now there's a lot of spiritual energy coming to the planet, so that's why there'd be a lot more like, oh, we got to make sure the frequency goes lower. So then that's when you would notice that there'll be like a lot more wars and stuff, because it's like a frequency battle. So if you can like fine tune your frequency and make it higher, like that's what they would talk about alchemy. Alchemy is looking at your subconscious, looking at your darkness, and then fine tuning it. And usually the way you want to fine tune it is to alchemize it, is to look at it. And usually when you look at something uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable, but once you look at it, you can look at it, but then you kind of sometimes you have anxiety, because like working with energy, you can have anxiety, or sometimes when you move into a high frequency, it kind of feels like you have anxiety because it's like new energy. So I personally like to dance, like just to get the energy going, or I like to run. So there's the two reasons the way I like to get my energy going. So like when I feel that anxiety going, I feel just like, oh my God, I have a lot of energy because I'm shifting into another level, or I'm moving, or alchemizing movie. I usually try to do something creative, like that's why I do my book necks or puzzles. I run or I dance, and that usually happens because you're gonna have a surge of energy. And also remember, when you go to a different level, sometimes you're gonna go into a new environment. So if you're gonna be alchemizing or shifting into different frequencies a lot, you're gonna go to different levels, and when you go into different levels, you're gonna notice that your environment's going to change. So sometimes your friends on level 1 are not going to be the same friends that you're going to have on level 3. So you're going to have to realize that sometimes when you shift into a high frequencies, that sometimes your friends or your environment are not going to shift with you. So you have to kind of get comfortable with being by yourself and having the journey on yourself, because once your energy change, like you may master number 1 in the frequency, but once you master number 2, you kind of have to humble yourself again and be like, okay, this is like a new level for myself. So it was kind of like I like to look at it as like a video game. You can shift into different levels and it's based on your frequency, but at the same times, like different levels, it's weird because you're still in the same, we're all in the same experience, right? But we're all kind of experiencing different experiences based on our frequency. So some people, like even though you're in the same level with them, like just because their frequency is lower, it's like their whole perception and what they're experiencing in life is like a frequency lower than you. So it's like, even though you're in the same space, you have different frequencies. So they're on a whole, you're in the same physical space, but they're riding a whole different vibration that's different from you. So, but it's just interesting. So like you can have people in the same location, but really what we have to pay attention to is all about vibration and frequency. So when you understand it like that, then you understand that heaven is a frequency. So we can even be in the same place, but it's all about different frequency. And a lot of time, even in magic and things of that nature, they need you at a certain frequency. So they will always try to manipulate your environment to make sure you're at a certain frequency. So a lot of times if you just go within and keep working that frequency up, then you can become untouchable. And that's my video. Hope you like it. Peace.